The sinister Banfield case, love, deception, and double homicide. The brutal murder of Christine Banfield in February 2023 sent shockwaves through Herndon, Virginia and beyond. What initially seemed like a tragic case of domestic violence soon unraveled into a complex, sinister plot involving infidelity, deception, and premeditated murder. As investigators dug deeper, they unearthed a chilling conspiracy involving Christine's husband, Brendan Banfield, and their live-in au pair, Juliana Perez Magallanes. What followed was a courtroom battle filled with shocking twists, an alleged murder-for-hire scheme, and the exposure of a secret affair that ultimately led to Christine's gruesome fate. This is the story of how love, lust, and betrayal ended in a cold-blooded double homicide. To the outside world, Christine Banfield seemed to have the perfect life. She was a dedicated nurse, a loving wife, and a caring mother. She and her husband, Brendan Banfield, a 39-year-old IRS agent, lived in a comfortable home in Herndon, Virginia. Their seemingly idyllic life was supplemented by the presence of their au pair, Juliana Perez Magallanes, a 24-year-old Brazilian woman who helped care for their child. However, behind the closed doors of the Banfield household, cracks were beginning to form in the marriage. Brendan and Christine's relationship had been strained for months. While Christine was focused on her work and their child, Brendan had been engaging in a secret affair with Juliana. The affair, initially a casual entanglement, spiraled into something much darker, an obsession that would ultimately destroy their lives. Neighbors would later recall that the Banfields seemed distant despite their picturesque appearances. Behind the sunny smiles and lawn parties, an undercurrent of tension brewed unnoticed by the community. On the night of February 24, 2023, the Fairfax County Police Department received a distressing 911 call. When officers arrived at the Banfield residence, they found a gruesome scene. Christine Banfield lay lifeless on the floor, stabbed multiple times. Nearby, another man, Joseph Ryan, was also found dead, killed by a gunshot wound. Ryan, a complete stranger to the Banfields, had allegedly been lured to the house under false pretenses. Juliana claimed that he attacked Christine and that she shot him in self-defense. Initially, authorities were inclined to believe Juliana's account, as it seemed plausible. However, the chaotic crime scene told a very different story. The house was in disarray with blood splatter that didn't align with Juliana's claims of self-defense. 2 lives had ended violently that night, but the evidence strongly suggested these deaths had been preordained. As detectives pieced together the evidence, inconsistencies in Juliana's story became glaringly clear. The supposed assault by Ryan seemed fabricated. Surveillance footage, phone records, and text exchanges painted a starkly different picture. Investigators discovered that Brendan and Juliana had created a fake online persona to lure Ryan to the Banfield home. Under the guise of an arranged sexual encounter, Ryan had been invited into an ambush. Once inside, Ryan was reportedly subdued and shot, possibly by Brendan. Christine, meanwhile, became the victim of a horrifyingly brutal attack. She had been stabbed 14 times, and key forensic evidence suggested she had been restrained during the assault. Further inquiries revealed meticulous planning. Brendan and Juliana had surveilled potential ways to avoid digital tracing. Prepaid cell phones, encrypted conversations, and false alibis were all part of a calculated effort to stage the murders. As evidence piled up, the true depth of Brendan Banfield's involvement became clearer. Text messages uncovered by investigators shed light on damning conversations between Brendan and Juliana. Their messages described animosity toward Christine and fantasized about a life together without her in the picture. More startling was the revelation that Brendan viewed Christine as a financial and emotional obstacle. An IRS agent with access to intricate financial systems, Brendan was allegedly in crippling debt, an issue that could have worsened in a divorce. Investigators speculated that Brendan's desire to escape with Juliana, combined with his financial troubles, were motivating factors. Juliana's role became equally intriguing. While the authorities initially saw her as a pawn manipulated by Brendan, closer examination unveiled her complicity. As a willing participant, she had enabled Brendan's plans and engaged in premeditated acts, blurring the lines between manipulation and conscious decision-making. In April 2023, Juliana Perez Magallanes was arrested and charged with second-degree murder in Joseph Ryan's death. The prosecution argued that her self-defense story was fabricated and portrayed her as a culpable instigator. Brendan's arrest, however, came nearly 18 months later in September 2024. Armed with overwhelming digital and forensic evidence, prosecutors charged Brendan with aggravated murder, conspiracy, and felony firearm use. As the legal battles unfolded, Brendan's defense portrayed him as a scapegoat, claiming Juliana acted autonomously. Juliana, on the other hand, saw the tides turn against her when she accepted a plea deal. By confessing to lesser charges, including manslaughter, Juliana agreed to testify against Brendan. This plea agreement would later prove pivotal in shaping prosecutors' arguments. The details of the Banfield case captured widespread public interest. The story, filled with betrayal, illicit romance, and calculated violence, became a media juggernaut. True crime enthusiasts dissected every update, while media outlets debated the psychology behind the tragedy. Public opinion was divided. Many saw Brendan as a cold-blooded manipulator, callously using his affair with Juliana to enact his deadly plan. Others labeled Juliana as the true villain, suggesting she was more than an innocent participant. Social media became a hotbed of theories and amateur investigations. Locked courtroom doors, strict gag orders, and redacted documents only heightened the suspense. Psychologists and experts joined the conversation, delving into what drove Brendan and Juliana. Narcissism, obsessive tendencies, and moral erosion were identified as likely causes for their actions. The betrayal of Christine, a loving mother and healthcare worker, made the case even more heart-wrenching to followers. As Brendan Banfield's trial commenced, the spotlight turned toward the courtroom. Testimonies from forensic experts detailed how blood patterns debunked the self-defense narrative, while digital trace logs solidified Brendan's involvement. However, it was Juliana's highly anticipated testimony that delivered the most damning blow. On the stand, Juliana recounted chilling details of Brendan's manipulative behavior, claiming he orchestrated every aspect of the crime. But was her testimony a bid for reduced culpability, or was she genuinely helping secure justice? The jury struggled with the moral complexity of the case. They deliberated not only on the charges but also on the intertwined roles both defendants had played. After weeks of tense proceedings, Brendan was convicted of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and firearms violations. His sentence, life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Juliana, in turn, received a lighter sentence but remained ostracized due to her role. The verdict brought a semblance of closure to Christine's surviving family, but unanswered questions linger. What triggered Brendan's descent into such heinous planning? Could Juliana have prevented the crime by coming forward earlier? The story of Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan will forever stand as a chilling cautionary tale. It serves as a harrowing reminder of how unchecked desires and deep-seated betrayals can morph into unimaginable acts of violence. Christine's tragic death, alongside the senseless killing of a stranger caught in the crossfire, underscores the fragility of trust in intimate relationships. As Brendan Banfield and Juliana Perez Magallanes live out their sentences, society is left to grapple with the lingering why two individuals crossed the boundaries of morality and humanity to such an extreme. While justice may have been served, the ripple effects of the Banfield case continue to stir conversations about love, ethics, and criminal psychology. Dubbed by the media as the Herndon tragedy, this is not a case that time will easily erase. For the Banfield family, healing remains an ongoing process, and the rest of us are left to ponder the dark corners of human behavior.